Gets out, she knows what she wants, she's got a heart of gold, and she is all about delivering for people elsewhere and giving to other people within the community. And in doing so, having a lot of fun along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, as an entrepreneur, a multi-award winner, 2014 Young Citizen of the Year, she calls herself a humanitarian. I call her a rock star. You can call her Samara Welbourne. Ladies and gentlemen, Samara.
Hi everyone. So before I start, you will have some paper and pens on your table, so I'd just like you all to write down a dream that you have or something you really want to achieve one day. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. It can be anything, a goal that you have. Alright, so we're going to move on and we'll come back to this later at the end. So to start, I was born 2 months early, so 8 weeks premature, and with that, like many early born babies, I had many early learning difficulties. My reading and writing was horrible, and math, forget it, I was really bad and I'm still not that great at it to this day. And I'll never forget the day when my Year 6 teacher, Mrs. Mays, called my mum in for an after-school meeting to tell her how bad my NAT plan results were. I'm sure the kids and teens can all relate to that because no one likes NAT plan. So that day she suggested that to my mum that to get my reading and writing and math better, that my mum got me to start writing into a diary. And so that same afternoon my mum took me to the local bookshop and I bought, I think, the most expensive, prettiest diary in the whole shop. But of course I never wrote anything in it. This night I was in the craft room with my friends and it was way past 10 p.m. at night and we were still in my craft room making fairy houses and fairy twig furniture because that was our hobby at the time. And that's when Mum started to get really mad because I should have been doing homework. But that's when my mum had a really bright idea. And her idea was to start to get me to write out a list of instructions on all the craft items I was making, which were fairy houses and fairy twig furniture. And I actually didn't mind that because at the time I loved making fairy houses and twig furniture. It was a big hobby of mine. And I knew that it would finally stop Mum from nagging at me. So anyway, sometime later, Mum and I were in the local bookshop at the corner shops, and because I love making fairy houses, I decided to ask the bookstore manager if she had any books in the shop on how to make fairy houses. And I couldn't find any, so I thought they might have been out of stock, but I was really surprised when she said that she'd never seen a book on how to make fairy houses. And I remember thinking the whole way home, how could there not be a single book on how to make fairy houses? Little girls and boys love fairy houses and trolls' caves. So I was really surprised. And by the time I got home that day, I began to have a dream. Me, a kid that couldn't read and certainly couldn't write very well, was going to become an author of a book called How to Make Fairy Houses. And I didn't know it then, but I had just done the first step to achieve your dreams. Dream it. Now remember, I didn't need to write a whole story, just a short list of instructions. So I thought I could do that, and this is now what I know as the second step to achieving your dreams. Believe it. And I could really see myself doing this. I knew all the instructions so well. I knew how to paint the base of the pot, stick the flower on the top, etc. And because I could see myself doing it, it came to the third step. You have to be able to see yourself doing it and you'll believe it even more. And I was pretty excited about writing this book. I wasn't really thinking about the process of becoming an author at 13, and I really couldn't even envisage that. But I was pretty rapt that I was going to be writing about something that was unique, that I loved, and hadn't been written about before. So So I started talking about it to everyone I knew, and this is now what I know as the fourth step to achieving your dreams. Tell it, and you will believe it. Anyway, my mum was pretty happy that I was finally writing, even if it wasn't full stories, and I was also able to show my teacher what I was writing. So that was great too, because all the important people stopped giving me a hard time. And then after about 4 months, After about 4 months, I met with the bookshop manager at the Kiwana shops again, and I asked her if she knew of any publishers that might be interested in publishing this prototype book, and I'd also taken in some of the fairy houses that I had been making to show her. And she gave me the name of 2 publishers who she thought might be interested. And now I was really getting excited. So I had made a rough plan in my head on how I was going to finish my full book of instructions to show the publisher that she had given me, which was Buller & Cress, who were in Brisbane. So I wrote out a few more designs within the week, and that meant that I had a finished book to show a publisher. And I had just done step 5 to achieve my dreams, planned it, and step 6, I had worked it. So to cut a long story short, about 1 month later, I took my book design into Buller & Cress in Brisbane, and this is my book called How to Make Fairy Houses. So that's it there. And it's the only book in the world that I know of that teaches kids how to make fairy houses to this day. So after having achieved my first big dream in life, some amazing things and opportunities then started to happen. Local libraries stocked my book, so as a way to say thank you, I started doing free fairy house classes at the local libraries during my school holidays. And kids and parents loved the fairy houses, so they started to come up to me and ask me or invite me to their house to make fairy houses with the kids on their birthdays. So at 14, I became a business owner of the business Enchanted Fairy Houses. Since then, I've learned that one small act of kindness can create amazing opportunities, and it also makes us feel good about ourselves. And it also makes us happy, and believe it or not, there's actually research that proves this. And today my fairy houses are changing lives. I used to live in Bali for 2 years, and before I left Bali, I partnered with a Balinese teenager named Tia Slatcher, which is this girl here in the photo. And Tia's dream was to have a library in her village, Lungaya, which is very poor. And together I used my fairy houses to raise some money to build a library. Together we raised $20,000, and that was finished in 2016. Now you may be thinking, well Sam, that was easy enough for you to achieve your dream, but I could never achieve mine. So now I'd like to introduce you to someone. But before I do that, my mum's over there on the table, she's a mentor today, and she always wanted to do some volunteer work in a developing nation. So when I was 14 years old, my family packed up our bags, I left my friends, my house, my school, and we moved to Bali. And that was probably every teenager's dream, really. Anyway, I left everything that I knew. Anyway, I'm going to introduce you to this girl. Her name's Nenga. When this photo was taken, she was only 12 years old, and she was found by the charity my mum was volunteering with. Now, when you look at this photo, can you imagine what her life would have been like? If this is how you got around. She hadn't walked upright since she was 2 because she had polio. She'd never been to school and rarely left her house. So what do you think Nenga's dreams could have been? Do you think she might have even had any dreams? And do you think she could have ever truly felt like she could achieve those dreams? Nenga was very lucky, really lucky. The charity my mum volunteered with found her, and they organised operations for her to get her mobile. And they gave her a walking stick so she could get around and stand up straight, and a wheelchair when she got tired so she can still get around. They got her into school and into sport, and she loved sport a lot, so that's when she started to have her dream. Today, Nenga is 26 years old and is a hero in Indonesia. A girl who couldn't stand up straight and couldn't even walk just a few years ago is now a role model and a champion weightlifter. So she's a role model to everyone in Indonesia, not just people with physical disabilities, but for anyone who had a dream but never thought they could achieve it. She is one of the few Indonesians to ever win a medal at 2 Paralympic Games and is now famous across Indonesia. So I'm going to finish off with Nenga's favourite inspirational quote, which is a bit hard to see, but it says, "Start by doing what's necessary and then do what's possible, and suddenly you're doing the impossible." And to finish, I want to ask you again, what is your dream? Thank you.